Growing up here on the Chester River in my backyard, I was about 10 years old and there was an old wooden decoy floating down the river. And I waded out with no waders with a big stick, and I pulled in the decoy, and that was what did it for me. And that's when I decided to start making decoys myself. As I left middle school and went to high school, and I'll never forget, I went into chemistry class. We were taking an exam, and I look over and my chemistry teacher is whittling out a duck head over top of the trash can. So at the end of class, I went over and asked him what he was doing there, and he showed me, and I just couldn't believe it. It was so amazing. It was such an awesome looking duck head. That afternoon, I went to art class, and when I walked into art class, my art teacher was painting a duck decoy. I was in heaven. I couldn't believe it. And I said, man, I was just down in chemistry class and Mr. Rose was whittling out a head. He goes, that's my partner. He carves them and I paint them. His name was Ben Dyes, but Ben became my mentor at that point. And he said, we have a woodshop class on Thursday nights. And I got right into doing the duck heads. And that was the first time that I ever did a duck head where we put it on a block. Showed me how to make a pattern properly. And then cutting it out on a bandsaw and then whittling it down, and I was shown the steps on how to do it properly. And then I started figuring things out. I started figuring out the painting, I started figuring out the different cuts, and then I found my first piece of basswood. That was like night and day. I felt like I'd been carving a brick compared to what this basswood was. Then my work started getting attractive, and I started trying new things, new techniques, new this and that, and that's when I started to develop my style. Ultimately, where I am today, I'm starting to make more anatomically correct birds, which is what I wanted to do from the beginning, because I was able over the years to take all the skills and the knowledge and the techniques, and now I can do an anatomically quote-unquote correct bird. When my father was sick back in 2009, I had a lull in decoy carving probably for 3 or 4 years. And finally one day before my dad passed away, he told me, I said, Dad, can I get you anything? Is there anything you need? And he says, you know what? I'd like to see you get back in the shop. And at that time, dust was accumulating. All my knives were tucked and put away. And finally one day after my dad passed, I went in and I carved up a pintail drake. Turned out exactly as I wanted it to. And then I made another one. And I entered one into the World Championships down in Ocean City. And it took 3rd place with that pintail drake. 2 years later, I did a redhead drake that won 1st place at the Worlds. And now I'm just like so excited to create these birds that are anatomically correct. I never used to do washes on birds where you paint the feathers and then you brush on or blow on with an airbrush a coat and you completely cover it up, and when it dries, what you painted by hand is underneath and it's a little translucent. You can see it under there, and then you go back with that same color and you hit it again and it creates depth. And then you blow another wash on and hit it again and again and again. You keep doing that with thin values, so you're creating this depth. I've always been a decoy carver, and I've always had a decoy shop. I totally recognized that the decoy shop was no longer a decoy shop, it was more of a studio. To me, it just seems a lot more fitting, Mill Creek Studios.